Hey everyone, welcome back to CK Cycles. Well, I just got done reshoeing my 86 VF700. I decided to go with the Kenda K673 tire, which I believe they call the Cruise. I've used this tire on another cruise bike in the past and was pretty happy with the performance of them and the fact that right now they are still pretty affordable when it comes to motorcycle tires. I thought I'd show you something. I had a little disagreement with the rear axle nut in trying to get it off so I could remove the rear tire. This nut was the hardest and most seized rear axle nut that I have ever encountered on a motorcycle, and I could not get the nut to budge. I tried heat and I tried a pretty impressive amount of leverage to try and get this nut loose, and I could not. So I ended up cutting the nut off, which meant I sacrificed my rear axle shaft here. Fortunately for this VF700, I believe it shares the same rear axle shaft with the VT1100, which I think is the Honda Shadow. I was able to source another rear axle shaft because there's still a few of them out there, because I think both bikes used the same shaft. Hopefully that'll show up here in the mail in the next few days, and I'll be able to get this rear tire mounted back on the bike. In this episode, though, I want to go over a little bit of the fuel system and what I had to address to get it cleaned out in order to get this bike ready for a first run. I'm not sure if I showed you in the past the fuel that came out of the fuel tank, but it was pretty rusted and pretty dark orange. I wanted to make sure I got all of that fuel out of the fuel system so it would not pollute my carburetors that I just got rebuilt and mounted back onto the bike. At the end of the video, I'm then going to do a test run of the bike just to make sure I don't have any fuel leaks, that my oil level is sufficient, and also to make sure I don't have any coolant leaks, since I did have to remove the radiator in order to get the carburetors back on the motorcycle after disassembly and cleaning. So pretty soon, this bike's going to be ready for the road. This VF700 is equipped with both a fuel pump and a stock inline fuel filter, and these are the two components I want to flush the bad fuel out of. My plan is to run clean fuel down through the filter, through the pump, and then back up and out the line that then would get plugged in to the carburetors. This fuel line here will bring fresh fuel from an external fuel tank into the fuel system that I will then pull through suction through the fuel filter and through the fuel pump and out. This blue line that I'm hooking up now will go to a hand siphon pump, so I'll be able to pull fuel through the entire system. As you can see here, fresh fuel will enter the system, go through the fuel pump and the filter, and then I will be able to capture the bad fuel in the siphon pump container. It took a little while to get my siphon pump to work, but here you can see me pulling and extracting out the bad fuel from the fuel system. I ended up completing this pump process about 3 times in order to get clean fuel flowing through the entire system. At this point I was pretty satisfied that I was getting fresh fuel through the system and the bike was nearly ready for a full test run. It took a little cranking to get fuel to all 4 of the carburetors, but eventually the bike did start. One of the first things I check on a liquid-cooled bike after having removed the radiator is making sure that the coolant is topped up. I did the checking of the coolant level with care, since the system is starting to build pressure and starting to build heat. At this point, I began checking for fuel leaks or oil leaks. Unfortunately, I did not find any. As the bike got up to temperature, I began to check the temperature of the radiator to make sure that coolant was starting to flow. I did find a small coolant leak here dripping off of the front cylinder head, and after I traced it back, I found that the leak was coming from the overflow tube on the top of the radiator. The tube was cracked and part of it will have to be replaced. I also checked the temperature on either side of the thermostat, just to make sure that the thermostat was open and coolant was flowing, and everything seemed to check out. The bike was really sounding good. I'll be excited to get it on the road.